Lecture 8, Public Speaking Outline. Preparation Outline. Now there's two outlines you're going to use for this class. One is your preparation outline. The other one is your keyword outline. First, we're going to talk about the preparation outline. Then we'll talk about the speaking or keyword outline. The definition of a preparation outline is a detailed outline developed during the speech preparation that includes the title, the general purpose, the specific purpose, the central idea, the introduction, main points, subpoints, subpoints, etc., which is our supporting materials, connectives, conclusion, and bibliography. You're going to put all of those things in your preparation outline, and the preparation outline is going to be submitted with a full text of your speech. Now, the preparation outline helps you to prepare the speech. You're going to decide what you will say in the introduction, how you will organize the main points and subpoints or your supporting materials in the body, and what you will say in the conclusion. All right, so we're going to talk about now the guidelines for a preparation outline. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to state the general purpose. Now, the general purpose should be a separate unit that comes before the text of the outline itself. For example, to inform or to persuade. Okay, and it will say to entertain, and whatever type of entertainment speech you're going to do. Well, we're going to talk about that later with the special occasion speeches. But for right now, to inform or to persuade. Number two, state the specific purpose. Now, the specific purpose should also be a separate unit that comes before the text of the outline itself. An example of a specific purpose: to inform my audience of 3 ways to improve your golf swing. Number 3, state the central idea. Now, this can be a separate unit that comes before the text of the outline itself or included in the text of the outline. But for the purposes of this class, I want to see it in both places. I want to see it outside as a separate unit that comes before the text of the outline itself, and I want to see it in the speech, in the introduction part of the speech. Okay, example of a central idea for the specific purpose we gave earlier, which were 3 ways to improve your golf swing. The central idea to that specific purpose would read similar to 3 ways to improve your golf swing are to plant feet firmly, to focus on the target, and to pivot quickly. So you see, we have our 3 main points. To improve your golf swing, you need to plant your feet firmly. To improve your golf swing, you need to focus on target. To improve your golf swing, you need to pivot quickly. So we've encapsulated the main points into our central idea. And as I said before, we're going to learn how to not literally have to put the three main points, but we can make a um, summary statement of it, if you will, to incorporate all three of those main points. But for right now, that's the way we're doing it. Okay, so here's an example of what we've just been talking about. So this is your paper, this is your sheet of paper, and you're going to say general purpose. You're going to write it out just like that, and it's going to say to inform or to persuade. Then it's going to say specific purpose, to inform my audience of three ways to improve your golf swing. And then it's going to say central idea, and you're going to write that central idea out. Okay, and it's going to also be included in the text of the outline. So this would be the beginning of the text of the outline. Introduction, okay, and then A, getting material, B, preview the message with your central idea. Be certain that the central idea meets all of the criteria discussed previously. We just talked about that. Okay, stated in a declarative sentence, not asked in a question. Okay, and it's a good central idea. Now, when we go further, you're going to see the labels here. Introduction, it says introduction, that's a label. That really should not be within the system of symbolization. And it's just outside a little bit, but it should be out further. Number 4, you're going to label the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. That's what I was just speaking about. Okay, so the introduction, the body, and the conclusion labels are not part of the system of symbolization. Okay, you include either in the middle of the page or to the far left margin. Okay, so it's either in the middle of the page this way, introduction, body, conclusion, or it's to the far left margin, introduction, body, conclusion. Whichever you choose, remember to remain consistent. So don't put the word introduction in the middle and then put the word body over here to the left. Whichever you decide you want to do, either in the middle of the page or to the far left, you stay consistent with that mode or that method. Number 4, use a consistent pattern of symbolization and identification. Okay, that really should be labeled 5. Okay. Use a consistent pattern of symbolization and identification. I'm sorry, indentation. Indentation. So you'll see that main points get Roman numerals, okay, and main points are indented equally down the page. The most important main points are farthest to the left, and the less important main points are progressively farther to the right. Okay, so subpoints get capital letters, and as well, subpoints are indented equally down the page. Subpoints get numbers, and subpoints get small letters. That is the system of symbolization. Okay, main points get Roman numerals. And then if you have a sub point, it would get small Roman numerals. All right, so I'm going to give you an example. You're going to consider these four sentences and how they should be organized. So the four sentences are: there are 13 people at the Last Supper, Jesus and his 12 disciples. One of the most common sources of superstition is numbers. In the United States, 13 is often omitted in the floor numbering of hotels and skyscrapers. The number 13 has meant bad luck as long as anyone can remember. Okay? So, considering those four sentences, this is the way they would be organized. So, your main point would be one of the most common sources of superstition is numbers, because that's broader in scope than any other statement that was listed. Okay. Then your first supporting material for that main point would be the number 13 has meant bad luck as long as anyone can remember. Then we give two examples about the number 13. So now they become supporting material for that, because remember when we talked about supporting material, we said that it must um, support the sentence that is directly above it. Now, to if and the reason why these are right underneath each other is because both of these sentences are supporting the um, sub point here about the number 13 has meant bad luck as long as anyone can remember. These two sentences, but say you wanted to break down number one sub point. There were 13 people at the Last Supper, Jesus and his 12 disciples, and you wanted to break that down even further. Now you would put a small letter A there and indent, because you're breaking that down further. Every time you indent, that means that that uh, supporting material is supporting the sentence directly above it that has the same, that has an indentation um, one over from it. Okay, so as you see, one and two, these two sentences support this subpoint. But if you wanted to break this down further, you'd have to indent now and have a small a, small letter. Remember, all points at the same level should immediately support the point that is just above and one notch to the left of your outline. That's what I was explaining there. Okay, state your main points and subpoints in full sentences. They should not be vague labels. They should be distinct ideas. Okay, full sentences. You want to label your connectives. Remember, connectives are transitions, internal previews, internal summaries. That's an error right there. That should say internal summaries and signposts. Sorry about that. Okay, you want to attach a bibliography. Don't pay any attention to these numbers. Attach a bibliography. Okay, that's a statement of your sources. You want to be clear, accurate, and consistent. And you want to use the MLA style for this class. Now, titles are not necessary for this class, but if you were to use a title, you need to be brief with it. You need to attract the audience's attention, and you need to encapsulate the main thrust of your speech in that title. Now, the other type of outline that you are going to prepare in this class is a speaking outline. First one, remember, was preparation. This one, the second one, is speaking outline. And the speaking outline is a brief outline used to jog a speaker's memory during the speech presentation of the speech. Okay? Speaking outlines are also referred to as keyword outlines. Now, they help you to remember what you want to say. So you're going to use these speaking outlines or keyword outlines when you're speaking, during your speech. So don't hand it in. But every semester I have students handing that in. Don't hand that in. That's yours. That's what you're going to use to deliver your speech. So don't say to me, oh, well, I don't have an outline for you because I needed to read my speech. That's not a part of the assignment. So please don't do that. If you feel as though you want to, quote, read, which I don't suggest you do, read your preparation outline, then you need to provide two copies. One for me when you submit your exam, your paper, and one for yourself to use during your speech. Okay, but you should use a speaking outline, not a preparation outline to deliver your speech. Now, these speaking outlines should contain keywords or phrases to jog your memory. They should contain essential statistics. Remember, statistics are facts and figures, and quotations that you do not want to risk forgetting. And they should contain cues to direct and sharpen your delivery. Now, the speaking outline, the guidelines for the speaking outline is that you're going to follow the same visual framework used in the preparation outline, meaning you're going to use that same symbol of system. We're going to use that same symbolization, okay, and the same pattern of indentation as we did for the preparation outline. Okay, it's easier and it also helps you to see instantly where you are in the speech at any given time. Okay, the other guideline, number two, for the speaking outline is you're going to make sure that it's legible because if you can't read it, you're going to have a problem delivering it. You don't want that to be an obstacle to your speech, to a successful, effective speech. Number three, you want to keep the outline as brief as possible. You don't want to write a whole lot of information on it. Just like I said, you don't want to bring up your preparation outline and just merely read your speech to the class. You want to deliver a speech, which is very different from reading it. All right, you want to give yourself cues for delivering the speech. Okay, this helps you to know how you want to say something. So on the cues for delivering your speech are going to be located on the outside of your document. It's going to have information. Say if you're going to clap your hands at that time, it would say that on the outside. In the margin part, you would write all of those things. Snap your fingers, close your eyes, ask a question here. Like those are cues that you're going to put on the side to give yourself that you want to make sure you enact during the speech. And we'll see more examples of these during class. Okay, let's talk about ethics in public speaking. Ethics deals with issues of right and wrong in human affairs. It's a sound ethical decisions that are weighed against potential course of action and a set of ethical standards or guidelines. So that's how you make your sound ethical decision. You weigh a potential course of action and you use a set of ethical standards or guidelines. Let's talk about the ethical responsibilities of the speaker. 5 guidelines for ethical speech making. Number one, you want to make sure the goals are ethically sound. So that means we're not going to have any speeches about how to grow marijuana, how to make false IDs, how to do anything illegal or unethical. Number two, we're going to be fully prepared for each speech if we follow the 5 guidelines for ethical speech making. You're going to prepare fully to not communicate erroneous information or misleading advice. You're going to investigate the whole story. You're going to learn about all sides of an issue. You're going to seek out competing viewpoints and you're going to get the facts right to be fully prepared for each speech. Number three, you're going to be honest in what you say. Number four, you're going to avoid name calling and other forms of abusive language. Remember, all of that is just distraction, noise, interference with your message, and you don't want that. You want your message to get across the way you intend for it to be received. And number five is put ethical principles into practice. Plagiarism. What is it? Plagiarism is when you present another person's language or ideas as your own. Now, there's 4 types of plagiarism. The first type is global plagiarism. And global plagiarism is stealing your speech entirely from another source and passing it off as your own work. Second type is patchwork plagiarism, and that's pilfering from 2 or 3 to put together one speech. So you use 2 or 3 people's speeches and copied and paste them and put them together to make your one speech, which does not belong to you. Okay, so tips on avoiding both global and patchwork plagiarism is to start working on your speech early. Do not wait until the last minute to work on your speech. If you do, you're not going to do well. I can tell you that now. Okay, and you want to consult a large number of sources. And your public speaking assignment guideline gives you information on how many sources are required per speech. Okay, that informative speech is 5 sources. I believe it's 5 sources. And they have to be a specific type. So we're going to go over that when we go to the library tour. Actually, when we have this class, we've already had your library tour. So you know exactly what I'm talking about now. You are going to have to consult a large number of sources. Number three is incremental plagiarism, and that's failing to give credit for particular parts or increments of the speech that are borrowed from others. So, say you wrote your whole speech, but then you took some parts of some other person's speech and stuck it into yours. Okay, that's also plagiarism. You can't use other people's speeches and words and don't give them credit for it. If you use somebody else's words and then you need to give that person credit. It doesn't belong to you. So an example would be quotes. Okay, the exact words attributed to the author. If you're going to quote somebody, don't pass that off as your own. Say who the quote belongs to. Paraphrasing as well. And that's restating or summarizing someone's ideas in your own words. Both examples must be cited in the speech and the bibliography. So when you use quotes and when you paraphrase people's works or ideas, then you need to cite that both in your speech and on your bibliography as one of your sources. Now, there's two ways to guard against incremental plagiarism. Number one, you want to identify direct quotes, paraphrased material, your own words, and include the info in the speech and the bibliography. Okay? And when in doubt, don't do without. If you're not sure, put it in there. Cite it if you're not sure. But when you make your notes up when you're doing work, just write on the side, direct quote, so you'll know this is something I have to make sure I mention and cite. The fourth type is internet plagiarism, which many are unaware that these sources require citation. You think, oh, it's on the internet, I can just use that. No, 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 you can't. All right, so you want to make certain to keep a record of the following for your bibliography: the title of the internet document, the author or organization responsible for the document, the date the document was last updated, the website address, and the date you access the site. Now, a lot of people, when they use a website, they think, oh, I'll just put the address of the website. But you see, there are four other things that also need to accompany just the web, that need to accompany that website address. So be mindful of that and get all that information and include it all in your bibliography in MLA format. Okay, when presenting your speech, you must identify your internet source and specify the author and website. So during the speech, in the speech, outside the bibliography, when you're citing, you're using somebody's words, you need to, identify the source. Okay, according to Highway Public Safety, New Jersey State Highway Public Safety.com. Okay, or and then specify the author and the website if it is an article that's on that website. Okay. Ethical responsibilities of the listener. We're going to talk about now. We just talked about the ethical responsibilities of the speaker previously, so now we're going to talk about the ethical responsibilities of the listener, right? Because communication is a two-way process, and both the listener and the speaker are equally responsible for the communication process being successful. Now, there's three guidelines for ethical listening. Number one is listen courteously and attentively. As a listener, you also need to avoid prejudging the speaker. And number three, you need to maintain a free and open expression of ideas. And our last lecture for today is types of speech delivery and speech apprehension. speech delivery. Now we're going to discuss types of speech delivery. The first type we'll be discussing is a manuscript. A manuscript is a speech read from a script. It's a typed page or a teleprompter. It's written out word for word and read aloud. Let me see that picture of a teleprompter. Now, the purpose of the manuscript is that it's used when precise language is necessary, especially for presidential elections, politics in general, and corporate executives. Now, some problems with using a manuscript speech is that it reduces your eye contact. Obviously, you're reading, so your eye is not really on the audience. And the second problem is that it decreases your connection with the audience because if you're not looking at them and you're focusing on reading and reading well, you're not really connecting with that audience and looking around at them and getting their feedback and giving them yours. Second type of speech delivery is a memorized speech. This is a manuscript the speaker commits to memory, but this should be rarely used. The problems with this type of speech is that with a memorized speech, you are less able to respond to audience feedback. Okay, and then retention can be a problem as well because if you forget, now you're just going to be left with long, awkward silence. So instead, you want to memorize keywords and phrases or segments of the speech, but not the entire speech. And remember, the more you practice the speech over and over and over again, the more you're going to be familiar with it and know it and understand exactly when and when and how your delivery is going to take place during the speech. So that's why you cannot start late. You have to start early, even developing the speech. And then once you develop it, you need to take some time to practice it. And I would practice my speech for at least a week. I would try to practice. So you need to make certain that as soon after we go to the library and learn how to use it properly, that you start working on that speech. Very important. Number three of the types of speech delivery is an impromptu speech. Now, this is a speech delivered spontaneously or on the spur of the moment without formal presentation. And throughout your lifetime, and particularly maybe, at work, you might be asked to deliver an impromptu speech. Okay, you could be in a meeting, and your boss could ask you, could you please give us an update on your latest project? You want to be able to know, okay, so what I'll talk about quickly a couple main points. I want to point out that the one main problem we had, it was resolved, and we're going to be up and running on the project. It's going to be complete by this date. Those two main points I want to talk about. How am I going to introduce this? Okay. I want to talk about how difficult it was to actually get this client, but once we did, it was, off and running. Okay. Now you're thinking of all of this as you're walking up to the front to give it. You like you only have moments to get this speech together. So that's how you would, you know, go about that process quickly in your brain. You have to be able to know. because you don't want to get up in front of your coworkers, or even if the clients are in the room. Hopefully, if the clients are in the room, you had some preparation. But even if you didn't know that you were going to speak and then your boss asked you to speak, you need to put together those ideas and thoughts in a coherent and cohesive manner that's impressive. That's the impromptu speech. And of course, some of the problems with the impromptu is that, you only have moments to get it done. All right, and then finally, the last type, which is the type that we do in our class, is an extemporaneous speech. And an extemporaneous speech is a well researched, outlined speech that's delivered after careful rehearsal. Okay? A well researched, I'm going to say it again, a well researched, outlined speech delivered after careful rehearsal. That's what your speech is going to be for your great, graded speech. Okay, what are the advantages of extemporaneous speeches? They are more audience centered. The audience is more involved with the speaker. You have increased eye contact and response to feedback because you haven't memorized the speech. You aren't just reading it. It's not impromptu. You've practiced, you've rehearsed, you've done your research, you have the facts, you have the evidence to back up what you're saying. Okay. So you can respond to people. Eye contact is great, should be great in an extemporaneous speech because, again, you haven't just memorized or you're not just trying to wing it on the cuff, or read the speech to someone where you can't even look at the audience because you're looking at whatever manuscript you're reading from. Notes eliminate the need for memorization. As we said, with extemporaneous, you have to have that speaking outline. You have to have it. And there's no worries of losing your place because it is follows that very nice system of symbolization. Okay, let's talk about some causes of speech apprehension. And I think every one of us has in some time felt that apprehension when speaking in front of a group. What are causes of speech apprehension or fear, um, stage fright? A lot of people call it stage fright. Number one, fear of inadequacy. And that is feeling inferior or incapable in some way. The second cause of speech apprehension is fear of the unknown, which is feeling unfamiliar, unknowing, or unclear. The third cause of speech apprehension is the fear of being judged. Sensitivities, this is when sensitivities cause us to avoid judgment altogether. We are so fearful of being judged. What is somebody going to say about me? Number four of the four causes of speech apprehension is the fear of consequences. Okay, the audience is either going to like it or not. On a job, a fear of consequences could mean that you lose an important client or an important case or project. You could lose your job. In school, you could get a failing grade. So the fear of consequences certainly is up there with causes of speech apprehension. So, how do we control our anxiety? How do we go from fear of speaking to confidence? Some things you can try is deep muscle relaxation, and that helps you with physical symptoms. Okay, deep muscle relaxation. That's taking in breath, deep breaths, and then breathing out and becoming relaxed, relaxing your muscles, your whole body. And sometimes you can use that with thought stopping, which helps with mental symptoms. Okay, thought stopping. Another thing you can do to control anxiety is visualization. See yourself walking up to the podium, giving a wonderful speech, looking out at your audience and seeing lots of smiley faces, shaking heads affirmatively. At the end, everyone is clapping for you, and it's just a wonderful success. Visualize that. Or take yourself to a calm environment that's one of your favorite places. Other techniques include humor, okay, friendly faces, visual effects, and rehearsing aloud. Okay, can take your mind off of all of that. So find that friendly face in the audience. Look around. When you find it, stay there with it. And when people are looking at visual effects, they're looking at your charts and graphs and photos and whatever other type of visual effects you have, and their eyes, all eyes are not on you. But remember that fear is a natural response. We all have it. We all have it. Even some of the best speakers let us know that they have nervousness just before speaking. You need to learn to identify your weakness and cope with your fears. And that concludes Lecture 8 on outline, ethics, and speech delivery and apprehension.